Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode. This is episode 2 of the Dark Matter Chronicles. It is 9/2/21. The first episode is up, and I am continuing my journey of trying to get Dark Matter in Black Ops. I'm still using the XM4 here. We're level 40, and we've got all the headshots, so we're just pretty much going for XP at this point. I'm changing up the format a little bit for this episode. Actually, we have a special guest today. My guest is a longtime friend of mine. We've known each other for about 5 years. He is an up and coming YouTube creator who puts out amazing video game reviews on products that he enjoys, and they're up to an hour and a half in length or something like that. And one of his most popular videos has almost 200,000 views as of today, and he's reaching about 4,000 subscribers. My guest for today is Dorkaxe. How you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, bud.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate you being so willing to be on the podcast, the Gamecast, on such short notice. A little background is I just got back from work about 5 minutes ago, so it's been a bit of a rush to get everything together, but I'm really glad you've been flexible with everything, so I very much appreciate it. So yeah.
I have a very, very boring life. I don't do anything, so this is totally good for me.
Yeah. So not much has changed since the good old retail days, eh?
Well, a lot has changed. I mean, in terms of me as a person, no, I guess not. I still don't like people, but
Yeah, I feel that.
yeah.
I feel that. So, I guess my first question for you is, what kind of inspired you to start doing critiques? Because I remember when we worked together, we would have long conversations about like the ins and outs of the industry and video games, and you always had really good insights. And so I'm assuming that's kind of where it comes from. But I'm more or less curious on what your original inspiration, or what was the original reason you started started doing YouTube videos.
Well, it's been a thing I've been wanting to do for a long time. I've kind of I've been like following a few people on YouTube who were kind of in that sphere and kind of opened my eyes to like the critical thinking of video games as an art form, I guess. And I'd say probably 2 years before I actually started doing it, I was kind of talking about it. Like with my girlfriend over and over. I was thinking like, man, eventually one of these days I just have to start doing it, and just kind of ended up happening where we were in the pandemic. I was working at the time. It was after like the quarantine stuff, but I was just thinking, I think it's time to actually just start trying to do it. I knew it was going to be terrible. That's kind of why I picked a game that was really, really small and really easy to do. It's a good thing I did that, because I don't think that video is very good on Snake Pass. But either way, it's just kind of one of those things where you just kind of have to just start doing it. I think everyone kind of gets in this trap where they want like their first thing to be really good, and they overthink it. And that's kind of what was happening for me for like years, where I was thinking I want to do something on Hellblade, and I was thinking about that since 2017. And
Wow.
eventually, yeah, I think in fact, like, I don't know how, like, if you want to talk about certain people's names, but a certain coworker, that used to work with us, I think you know which one I'm talking about. He's kind of tall.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, I was even telling him, when I was working there, like, I really want to make a video about like this very specific boss fight because it was so cool. And he's like, yeah, go for it. I'm like, yeah, I should, yeah. But again, that was 2 years before I actually started doing it. So,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure you can tell I like to kind of go on tangents, which is a good thing. It's a good thing I script my videos.
Yeah, no, and it's good for this too, so I don't have to talk as much. I can say one question, just let you run with it. No, I know who exactly you're talking about, and his unmatched optimism was nice for when we would talk about this stuff. So, kind of going off of what you're saying, in your mind, what separates like a good critique video, so like on a video game or movie or whatever, versus one that's more, I guess, not so good? Like, I don't know what would be the right terms here. Like, what separates a quality critique versus a not so quality critique?
It's So it really kind of comes down to personal taste, and I feel like this is kind of like my preface because I don't want to act like I'm just trying, like I'm just trying to bash people or anything. But the way I prefer to, I see a lot of stuff on YouTube, right? I think we all know there's like this, like the whole like critical sphere of YouTube is extremely saturated, or oversaturated probably. And one thing I've been seeing a lot, like especially once I've started, I didn't realize how many, like how saturated it was until I started doing this, and then I saw everyone else's videos, and I was thinking, like, I don't know why you would keep doing it for so long if you're not going to do X or Y, because I was just seeing so many, just really pointless. I guess again that's kind of a rude thing to say, but pointless talking points where I'm just thinking, what is the purpose? Like I feel like everyone in the world who has done a review on this game has said this, and you're not even saying it in a way that's even coherent or like succinct. And I'm just wondering what the point of it was. And like there wasn't even like proper gameplay footage to use as an example. It was kind of just like all the footage you just kind of expect to see in a trailer or something like that.
Sure.
So it wasn't
Sure.
even pertaining to what they were talking about. And you know, I have a few people in mind what I'm talking about, but it's still I'm still thinking like, what, like how are they gonna ever get? I just don't understand, and I don't quite get what keeps them going. I mean, obviously more power to them if that's what they enjoy, but I feel like if I was doing this for like 2 years, you know, and I hadn't improved enough to have people want to keep watching my videos, I'd probably call it quits. I'd be like, clearly, you know, this is not appealing to people. Someone's gonna
Yeah.
stop. So
I mean,
in that respect, but
yeah.
oh, sorry.
No, I was gonna say that's obviously not the case because I mean, what in the 7 months you've been doing this, you've had almost not I wouldn't say meteoric. I'm not trying to blow too much smoke up your ass, but I mean, your channel has grown significantly. So you're obviously doing something right, and I personally like watching your videos or having them going on in the background because I do like a lot of your points. So
it is nice that I'm getting a whole bunch of comments because like the real struggle obviously for everyone on YouTube is just to get, you know, seen, and unfortunately that kind of comes down to at this point is if the algorithm will actually throw your thumbnail on everyone's homepage, and that's, you know, quite the battle. And it just so happened that it seems YouTube knows exactly what to do. If I type in the word Star Wars, it goes, oh, I know this audience, so they throw it to people who like Star Wars, which works out because a few of those people are going, oh, okay, well, you should see what else he does. And then they're like, oh, crap, okay, good. He has this kind of thinking for every game.
yeah,
And I almost feel like, going back to the previous question again, because I feel like I didn't really answer everything as well as I'd like to. Like, what I like to provide, at the very least, is a combination of two things, right? Obviously, when I do like a review of a game, I do kind of want to touch on a lot of the things in it, even if I don't find them too interesting. I at least want to have it be kind of a complete review where, if a person, for example, hadn't played it, you know, and they're like, oh, I remember this game from 20 years ago, and then I can kind of talk about everything, and they can go, oh, yeah, that's, you know, the whole thing. I don't want to draw out too long, even though my, you know, like video length might tell you otherwise, but but I try to keep a balance of like explaining how the game works for people who haven't played it, but also having interesting things to say. And I feel like that part is kind of missed for a lot of people. Where, like for example, again, I'm not gonna name any names or anything, but I happened to see like a Battlefront 2 review prior to the one I put out, and I was really hesitant on clicking it because I was like, because it got a whole bunch more views than I think it was at like 300,000 views.
oh wow,
Um, like before I had mine out, right? And I was thinking, should I watch this? I don't want to, you know, I don't want to hear like their points and get influenced. But I ended up watching parts of it, and a lot of what I was thinking when I was watching it was like, what are you really like? I feel like they weren't really saying anything. Like they were explaining what was happening, like how the game works and everything. But I'm like, what are your hot takes? I feel like you have to have a balance of hot takes. Otherwise, there's really no point in making the video.
yeah. I mean, you have to have some sort of opinion on it. You can't just go through a tutorial, right?
Right, and like that's almost one thing I try to avoid as much as possible is just like the blanket kind of boring opinion where it's like, oh, like this a small section of a game. Here's the whole thing. It's good. Anyway, on the next thing, it's bad. You know, I don't. I really try to stray from this is good and you know just and that's that. I try to examine, if I can, really what that means. Why is it good? And I actually find it much harder to explain why something is good than why something is bad. I feel like if something is bad, it's really easy to tell why it's bad. But if
Mhm.
something is good, oh my, I would say like significantly harder to really put that into words because it's just kind of something you feel as you play. If you play something
Sure.
good, you go, ah, this is great. But if something terrible, and I think you've seen some terrible games, you go, oh, you know, I can tell you everything that's wrong with this.
Sure. Sure. So, um, in that way, then, would you say that it's easier to review good games, or would you say it's easier to review bad games? Like, would you just review a game that's universally panned that would already be like beaten, like, like it's you don't you basically said you don't want to beat a dead horse, right? So how would you go about, if you would, like reviewing a game that's just universally panned?
That's an awesome question. I'm happy you're the person asking questions. You see, that's a hot take question. No, I so I'll answer the first one. It is much easier to do a review on a game that is bad. Like it's just flat out easier because I mean it's harder in a way because you have to play it and you have to record yourself
Mm,
playing it, and that part kind of sucks.
I bet that's a slog at
Um,
some points, right?
yes, in fact, what the heck's going on? Hang on, are you able to hear me still?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, everything turned off and I wasn't sure if the power went off. Okay, we're good. Yeah, it is kind of a slog, especially for Dead Rising 3, which of course is my longest video because I just complained for 2 hours straight. But it really makes you think: is this worth it? Is this really worth it in the end? Because I'm having such a horrible time with it. And for a certain game, I'm trying to do a review on it. It's not ended up being worth it. I've tried 3 times now, and I'll just say it on here if you're okay with that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Um, I've been trying to do a review on Lord of the Rings Conquest. It's this
Oh,
Xbox 360 game.
yep.
It's basically it's pretty much Star Wars Battlefront, but with Lord of the Rings skin, right?
Yeah.
And this is I think I was trying to get it done for September, and this is my third attempt now, and every single time I play it, I just think of how terrible this game is. I can't stand it. It feels so clunky just to control your character. All the audio feels really cheap, and I'm thinking for the quality of Lord of the Rings, you can't cheap out on the audio. And I just don't think the gameplay worked. Okay, I'll spare you my like small review, but basically I've tried a few times now, and I feel like I might never do it because every time I go, I get a little further in the game, and then I just like the first time like I die, I go I don't want to do that level again.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, no. I totally understand that. That's
So
yeah,
in
that's like
in that respect,
yeah.
oh sorry.
No, 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 keep going, sorry.
So in that respect, it's harder. But going to like the part two of your question, um, there are 2 games in particular I was thinking I could do like some kind of review on that everyone already has kind of spoken about it in like a negative light. Not saying everyone hates it, but for example, Life is Strange is a game where I had my girlfriend play it because I thought it was just going to be a pretty like straightforward game, and I have played that when it first came out. I think it was 2015 or so. I don't really recall the exact date, but I enjoyed it when it came out. It was fine. It was a game that was okay. And watching her play it, just it was crazy how much worse it was when I was just watching the whole story play out. But it wasn't too bad until we got to chapter 5, and again, I know this game has been talked by so many people. There's a certain kind of audience that really hates that game. I think you know why, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And so even though like I know this has been talked, this is pretty much like a puddle now because people have just been hitting it over and over, as if it's a horse. But it's like I feel like I would have interesting takes on it, and there's a specific reason or like a few things I could say like about that last chapter which did not work for me at all. And I don't know, I haven't seen every video, right? But I feel like it's a hot-ish take because there are plenty of easy things you can criticize in the game, and I feel like I kind of have found a few of them that aren't as obvious, and it'd be interesting to talk about those. But so there is like this other game. I'm not going to talk about it, but I feel like it would be really easy to do something on too. It's just hard to know if it's really necessary, because everyone, for example, I think we all know the movie The Room. I think everyone has heard of The Room at least, right? You've seen
Yeah.
The Room.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is like the most like well-known horrible movie, right? But you know, I would like to talk about it, but do we need another video where we talk about it? Like, there's so many on YouTube that are kind of like trashing it already. Even fucking CinemaSins did it, and they're terrible.
Yeah.
So even they have a longish video on it if you really want, like some brain dead, like analysis on it. So I feel like that's kind of the thing where if it's been talked about this much, what more can we really talk about with it? So that's kind of the angle I come at it from too. So that's why I don't know. I forgot what the question was. I'm just going off.
No, yeah, you answered it. You
Okay,
hit it.
fair enough.
It's interesting that you say that because the other half of this, I guess, podcast thing is I like to talk about archaeology now. Not now. I mean, it's been my job.
Only now.
Only now. But yeah, it's the same thing you see in science too, like in archaeology a lot, where you can talk about this one subject, like you can talk about the Mayan collapse all you want, but if you're not going to bring a fresh perspective to it, what's the point of doing the research? There is no point. It's just you're going to be talking about the same thing over and over and over again, and if you don't bring a new perspective, no one's going to care, and no one's going to fund your research grant or whatever you want to do. So it's interesting that comes down to also like the more critical side of media, because it's definitely there in the science. I mean, I think it's like one of the core foundations of science, but seeing it how it infiltrates in other things too is very interesting from my perspective.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say, like for the critical sphere of YouTube, I think it actually matters quite a lot because a lot of people do enjoy to watch me just for me, but also, it isn't just because of my personality. It's because I'm trying to present interesting ideas as well. At least I hope that's why. But that's why I feel like for the whole critical side of things in terms of video games, it's really, really necessary to know how much something has already been said. Otherwise, there's really no point anymore. Because, I mean, if you've seen my videos, yes, I do have, like, I do have some, like, like jokey jokes and stuff like that, but it's really not the main appeal. However, if we contrast that to, like, a Let's Play, for example, you're not watching a Let's Play just because you want to hear about the game. You're probably watching it because you like the person who's playing it, and they're just, that you're kind of here for them, and they're able to play something perhaps you've heard of, but either way, you kind of get to see like their reactions on it. Where, I don't think it's gonna enter your brain. Like I've watched, like a person play like Until Dawn 200 times now. Do I need to hear more about it? Well, no, but you haven't seen this person that you do like play it, so maybe it might be interesting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And then, like that actually leads me to another question.
Good at this. Look at that.
Yeah, no, it's actually been great. You've like talked about like I wrote these things down now. Like I actually had time today, and so like I had these like I have a notepad next to me, being like these are the questions I should ask. But would you ever consider going into more of like having a second channel? Or no, you have a second channel, don't you?
I do.
Do you do more Let's Plays on that?
No, I don't think I'll ever do anything like that. I pretty much have it because even though I do want to stream and I do want to keep the VODs up for anyone to watch, so like how I had it before, which pretty much worked exactly how I wanted it to, but once I become larger, there's no way to make money off of it, is I pretty much I kept the VODs on my channel, but I had all the videos unlisted. And you aren't able to monetize any video that's unlisted.
Sure.
But I had them all on like a certain playlist on the channel, so if someone wanted to watch an older VOD, they could. But I mean, I don't want to always like prioritize like money, but at the same time, I feel like it would be kind of silly to not have it on a channel where that is all I do, is just kind of post stuff that doesn't really look organized, just like here's a stream, here's the VOD, that sort of thing.
Sure.
And eventually, perhaps in the future, if I have like 100,000 subs on the main channel, maybe I'll have like 10,000 on this extra channel, and that'll be an easy way to get some extra money, because I'd like to do this full time eventually.
Yeah.
So, as of right now, I kind of have an extra channel, but I still stream on the main channel. And does that answer a part of your question?
Yeah, that definitely does. And yeah. So, like, I guess the next question then would be where do you see, or where do you want your channel to go in the next like 6 months to a year and a half? Yeah, basically, I'm doing like that interview question that you get whenever you go for a new job. It's like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? But like more along the lines of
time scale.
But like, if you could have your channel go in any direction, size wise, or like just content wise, where would you like it to go in your ideal universe?
20 million subs, hopefully by next month. Is that I mean, I don't know. I would love that.
But like realistically, like,
Right,
do you
right.
have like a goal set in mind for the end of the year or something like that?
No. See, like this is kind of the thing that I've had to learn the hard way. I've also seen people who are pretty like experienced with YouTube like say this a few times, but I guess it didn't really kind of click with me until I had like the algorithm treat me well for a little bit, and then it's not anymore. I feel like you can't really count on having like a goal be like a number, because you have no control of if YouTube will decide to be like, oh, here you go. I mean, the only way I could control that is if I just, for example, changed my format entirely. I was able to get like videos out much quicker, which meant they wouldn't even be reviews anymore. They'd just be like, I'll just talk about Star Wars and everyone will click on that. So there's really no way I can influence like how many subs I get, I guess, like directly, which is unfortunate, but at the same time it is kind of nice, so I mean, I don't want to say I like ignore it, because I do check it pretty often, because our caveman brains like to see numbers go higher.
Oh yeah, for sure. I
But
like
at the
numbers.
same time, everyone loves numbers. They're in every freaking video game ever made. I bet the game you're playing right now has a bunch of numbers on it.
Oh, you better fucking believe it.
But anyway, so in terms of like my goals for the end of the year, or for even like next year, I don't really have anything in terms of I hope to have this many subs. I mean, I'd really like to eventually get like 10,000. I'd like to eventually get 50,000, 100,000. Obviously higher and higher. But it really comes down to if YouTube decides to show stuff that isn't just Star Wars to everybody. It really comes down to that, because I'm going to continue making the videos like the way I am. If anything, it's taking me longer than usual, so it's even like less algorithmic friendly, unfortunately. But that's kind of the cost, Like, I think this happens to a lot of people who are in like the exact same place that I am on YouTube, where they have to like analyze, I guess, like certain pieces of media, where the longer you go, the more you realize you want to improve, and if you want to improve, you pretty much have to take more time, like to fact check, or to like have things, for example, sit for a little bit to make sure that's really how you feel, or if this is actually true. And there's just a lot more work that goes into it the more you go, because you want to make it better and better. So that's kind of been hitting me as well. Like when I first started, I was like, I'll get a video out a week.
Oh,
I think a few
Jesus.
times, I got two. I got two videos out a week. It's just crazy. And at this point, it's like I hope to get 2 out a month. That'd be nice.
Yeah. Are you
It just depends.
Do you experience burnout ever?
Yes. Like outrageous burnout. And it's kind of upsetting, because I'm so early in my YouTube career, if you want to call it that. But I had it really, really bad when I was in the process of making my Sekiro video. That one was the longest it's ever taken me at that point to do a video. It was over a month, and it was a long video. But I've made videos that length before, but it took so much more time and so much more, I guess, energy, just to make sure I was correct in everything, and like to double and triple check everything, because I don't want to be incorrect when I'm talking about a FromSoft game and have harsh critiques on it. Otherwise, you know, you know how it
Yeah.
works.
Oh yeah, you'll be splayed of for the masses.
Yeah. And then, so I was desperate on getting that video out, and I kept telling my girlfriend, I kept telling her like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna change this one thing. It's almost done. And then that happened for like a week or two, and she's like, just post the video. I'm like, I gotta do one more thing. I kept like having to tweak things and just, triple checking things, and she's like, this is killing you, just post it. And I mean, obviously I eventually did, and I was very happy. Then it happened again just recently, working on the 2015 Battlefront video. Oh my gosh, that took even longer. I cannot believe how draining that was, and I was okay with playing it. I think anyone who does this knows that playing the game is the kind of the fun part, even though it doesn't always feel like it. It's just when I was pretty much satisfied with how much I've recorded and how much I played, then I think that took the longest time to put into a video, just because I had like just so many hours of footage I had to go through and just kind of choose out the examples that really fit my argument in certain places. And man,
Sure.
that took a long time, and that one really, really drained me. I was just thinking like for 2 weeks straight, I was like, I cannot wait until this is done. I cannot wait until this is done. So,
Yeah.
not looking forward to doing Battlefront 2. It's gonna take even longer, but it is what it is.
Would you say then that that Battlefront video is the most difficult video you've ever produced?
I wouldn't say it was difficult. That's only because I think all of my opinions were really easy to come to. I think like there wasn't any time where I was like trying to painstakingly figure out how to word something, or trying to get a certain idea across, and I had to like keep like redoing the paragraph 100 times. There wasn't anything like that, which is really where kind of where it gets stuck for me. But it was just a lot of work. It was just a lot of work that was easy to do in small amounts. Like, it wasn't like it was hard. Like, I'm not sure if you ever had to go through a whole bunch of footage or anything, but basically you're kind of going like fast forward through everything and seeing if anything would fit. That's easy to do. It's just you have to focus on it, and it takes like 10 hours to do. It's just
Sure.
so much work. So I wouldn't say it was hard. It was just long, and
Yeah,
I think that was
sure.
worse. It was very tedious.
See, now you know why I never edit my videos.
Well, the one time you did, it was great. I really liked that one. That was with I think it was like Among Us, right?
Oh,
That was
sure.
a really good one with the hacker. That was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, it's just the effort, right? It's the going through and scrolling on the video and just being like, oh, do I cut this? Do I not cut this? It's but we're not here to talk about my disdain for editing or anything, even though I will have to edit this podcast, clean it up like the beginning and the ends. But that's besides the point. So I guess the next question would be, since you are, obviously well known for your video game critiques, would you ever consider going into like movies or music or some other medium of media, I guess, for a critique? Like, would you ever come out with like a room critique?
Yes, and also no. It depends. So, I would say for the most of my channel, like up until like a few months ago, I'd probably say no, because I don't want anyone to like associate me with just, I want everyone who's on the channel knows what they're getting, and that I would hope will lead to like a higher click-through rate. Be like, okay, this person's talking about my hobby. Let's go.
Sure.
Whereas if I were to do something on like a movie that they haven't heard of, perhaps they wouldn't really be like, it's like a movie. Well, perhaps if it was a game, I don't know, something like that. However, I have seen a few channels kind of recently. I mean, it isn't like they're like, like new channels. They're pretty popular channels with like 300, 1,000 subs and stuff. And what I really like about their channel is that they can do a whole bunch of topics. Like, I've seen a few of them. Like, there's a whole bunch. At least the one I'm thinking of right now. Like, this channel is mostly about like politics, but they have a whole bunch of like like offshoot videos about interesting takes on certain games and stuff like that. And they also talk about like certain shows too, and that feels kind of cool to me. Like, I would almost imagine it like my whole channel is just certain extremely like specific hot takes on certain like movies and games and stuff like that. And I think that'd be really cool if I could actually sustain that. It's just, would I be able to break through the algorithm with switching up my content like that so quickly? I don't think so. But at the same time, perhaps on like a secondary channel, I might try it. I'd say the other issue is I have the most I have the most knowledge when it comes to games.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I feel like especially like for music, I would never try to do anything on that because I just don't know music as well as I really should to feel comfortable. Like, oh yes, you know, I mean I of course was in band for a while, but that doesn't mean I know enough to critique like certain compositions and certain melodies and stuff like that. I would have no idea what I'm talking about.
That's fair.
I I could potentially do movies. I have taken a few. Oh boy, I won't say that part. That sounds extremely pompous. I'll just say I have a lot more knowledge like when it comes to films, but still probably haven't watched as many films. Or I guess in terms of like hours, I probably played a lot more hours, you know, like in games, than I have watched, you know, for movies. So I feel more confident talking about games than movies. But you know, I guess you shouldn't say never. I don't know.
Never say never. Isn't that a Justin Bieber album? So there you go. There's your first critique.
Would that even be worth? Like, there's also the whole thing about you can't really critique like music very well without getting some kind of copyright claim. But of course, you are allowed to use it if you're being critical of it. But I've seen like some people who are on YouTube who try to do the whole thing where they criticize like an album, but they can only play a very small part of the song. It's kind of awkward. So I
I
know you
bet.
didn't ask that. I shouldn't have spoke out of turn. I'm sorry.
No, that's it. No, that is interesting though, because I mean, the YouTube copyright stuff, like, it affects everybody. I mean, it affects my channel, it affects your channel. It's
Yep.
I'm guessing it affects your channel more than my channel, because the majority of the copyright stuff that I do is like singing really poorly like songs, or like in my Batman video using I think Chamillionaire's Riding Dirty for like 1 second longer than I was supposed to, or something like that. I don't know, but I guess let's just. Do you mind talking about like the algorithm and like how that game's played? Kind of now that we're like getting into the nuts and bolts of YouTube. Do you mind talking about that, or do you just want to kind of avoid that subject?
I don't mind. I don't know if I have anything like earth shattering to share. It's just it really like in terms of like how it works.
Sure. Like, I'm interested in your perspective, being a up and coming channel, of how do you like feel about the algorithm, because in my experience it's a lot of it giveth and then it taketh away, you know.
I think it's truly baffling because obviously they can't really give the keys to the kingdom. They can't just outright say, here's how the algorithm works. Otherwise, everyone and their mom will be like, all right, let's exploit this as much as possible to get our stuff the most attention. Because I'm pretty sure, like, early on, they did kind of explain how it worked, which was how many clicks is like your thumbnail getting, and that's how it led to clickbait. Like, even though clickbait still definitely exists right now, but it was really bad before. I don't know if you remember. I wasn't here on YouTube anywhere near that time, but I hear it was really, really rampant with crazy clickbait that wasn't related to the video at all. It was just like half-naked girls with like some guns. I don't know.
Oh,
Just
I'm sure that's still a problem. I mean, I guarantee it is, right?
well, it is, but I've heard that like the main thing that YouTube tries to weigh at this point is watch time, because they
Yeah.
want they want everyone to be on YouTube for as long as possible. So like the you know, all the channels who are able to get the highest amount of watch time, let's push them to keep people on YouTube, that kind of stuff. But at the same time, right? So obviously, like the impression click-through rate has to mean something. And for anyone who doesn't, but who hasn't heard of that before, like the impression click-through rate is how many times is like your thumbnail of your video being shown on someone's homepage or like suggested on the right, and how often, you know, like if it's on that person's screen, how often are they clicking it? So usually like a pretty good like impression click through rate is like if you just have like a video come out, probably like 20%. I've never gotten that high, but I hear that's really good. Then it goes down to 10 pretty quickly, and now like a pretty good one like to stay at is like around like 5 or so. If it gets shown to a ton of people, which is what you want, it's gonna get lower and lower. But like I'd say for almost all of my pretty popular videos, it hangs out around like 5 or so, which I can kind of understand, right? I can kind of understand that whole process, but at the same time, it I don't understand the algorithm and how it works for me. I could have sworn it was just like if I post like Star Wars, it'll just go yoop, and there it goes. But at the same time, I posted my Battlefront video recently, and it had the highest amount of watch time. It was a much longer video. The average watch time was higher than the other two that I posted, but it got nowhere near the like amount of impressions as the other two did, and I have no idea why. It like for a while it had a higher impression click-through rate too, and it still didn't mean anything. So I don't know what to tell you. I guess that's my experience with the algorithm, is that it like for sure knows what certain keywords like you enter in. Because for example, like if my video doesn't say the word Star Wars, it's not going to go to hardly anybody. But if it says Star Wars, it'll try a little bit, and then just like I guess depending on the month, it'll actually try hard. It's just so confusing.
Yeah. It's baffling, and I think that it's something that everybody on this platform has been, I guess, dealing with or trying to battle with since, the inception of the idea of a YouTube algorithm, right? So, I mean, I hope you crack the code.
I don't think anyone can crack the code. I don't think like it's a code that's actually like meant to be cracked. Well, I mean there are people who consistently get on trending, but
True.
they have such clickbait, garbage content. It's like, why are people watching this? Like I have to imagine like at least like 30% of everyone on YouTube is a child who has an iPad. Like I feel like that's at least 30% of everyone on YouTube is a child with an iPad, and that they just always click the ones with like the crazy reaction face of like, whoa, what's happening here? It's just ridiculous. I'm never doing that, by the way. I'm never stooping to that level.
I was just about to ask if you're gonna ever do that. Just like, whoa, I said what? Like,
well, like a huge one is like, oh, a crazy prank gone wrong, and then you have a reaction face. Just stop. Just stop it, please.
It's I don't know. It's just like it kind of demoralizes me when I see videos like that constantly get millions of views. Granted, my content's not very high quality, but at the same time, I'm not like purposely trying to, I guess, trick like snake oil salesman somebody into watching my video. But I mean, if you do, that's totally fine. Like, so another aspect of this channel is kind of like video game news and looking forward towards the future. And I think we've talked about this before, but I'm very excited about the end of this year. Do you have anything that you're looking forward to coming out, movie or game wise?
I can't. I'm actually curious what you have to say, because I'm wondering what's coming out at the end of this year. But I know like for September, for the month we are in right now, I have like 3 or 4 things I'm interested in, but it just kind of comes down to will I have time to play it. I know the one I'm most looking forward to is the new WarioWare.
Yes.
That's coming out at the end of the week, I think, or perhaps it's next week. I don't remember. There's also Skatebird I'm interested in, Origami 2, and Deathloop is also coming out this month as well. Okay. So I'm not like super interested in any of them except probably like WarioWare, but it's enough that I put it on my calendar. I mean, if this was like 3 years ago and I wasn't doing YouTube, all of those games I would have purchased on day one and played them. But because I have so little time to do that because of YouTube, I will hopefully play a few of them. We'll see.
Sure.
But
yeah,
for this year though, I don't know like what you're thinking. I'm really curious.
Well, I mean, I discussed this in my last video. I'm pretty excited for the Diamond and Pearl remakes, mostly.
Oh, you did mention that, yeah.
It's.
I guess with Pokemon, it just goes right over my head.
Yeah, and I kind of want to. This is not related to the interview or anything, but I would like to apologize for my last video because I think I went a little. If you want to talk about hot takes, I think I accidentally called almost the entire Pokemon community toxic, and
You
I
did.
I would like to apologize because that's not actually how I feel. I was just drinking a lot of coffee at the time, and so like
You did mention that, so
yeah, so that's my excuse. But no, I think Phil and I are both really excited. Phil being another content creator that we interact with pretty often for the new Halo game that's coming out because Halo Infinite looks like
is it?
yeah it's
Is it coming out?
December. Yeah, yeah.
Is it?
I mean, you better not be jinxing it right now. I'd be
Is
real
it?
upset.
I mean, we'll have to see, everyone, if it actually comes out. But I mean, hopefully,
I mean,
that'd be nice.
the thing that's annoying about it is like the multiplayer is coming out first, and then it's the campaign. I preferentially would play the campaign first and then the multiplayer because that's how I've done every Halo game.
I would as well, yeah.
But no, but I'm excited for that, and the new Call of Duty's coming out, and I mean, I'm playing Call of Duty Zombies right now while I'm doing this interview.
Wait,
So,
it's what? It was called what?
the new Call of Duty's coming out, Call of Duty Vanguard, and
I've never heard of that before.
yeah, okay.
Call of
Call of
Call
Juarez.
of Duty? Call of Duty? I don't know what you're talking about, bud.
But yeah, that's coming out, and obviously I'm also very excited for WarioWare because Smooth Moves is so like the Wii version I would have to say is in my top 15 favorite games I've ever played. It's just one of the it's probably the funniest game I've ever played.
That's an insane take, my dude.
That is not an insane take.
I would say it is a good game, but out of all the WarioWares, I think that's one of the worst ones.
You think so?
I do, but this isn't what we're here to talk about, though. So let's.
No. I want to dive into this because now I have to defend my honor. Is it the motion controls or what's up?
So I mean, I'll be honest. It isn't really all my opinion. I've heard from a person that kind of had an opinion on it, and it makes a lot of sense. Where pretty much like the appeal of WarioWare of all their games is that you don't know what small. I think they call them like micro games in those ones, right?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
micro game is happening next, and you have to react really quickly. Whereas in the one for the Wii, because you kind of have to know what's happening, because you have to have a certain handhold for the remote, you do kind of know what's going to happen next. You're like, oh, hold it this way. You're like, well, I know what's going to happen next. I'm going to do the thing I do when I hold the remote this way. So that's kind of why I think that, because I was convinced by someone else, but...
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I understand what you're saying, and now that you mention it, I'm like, that's a good critique. Like,
Not mine. I'm not claiming credit of that.
I understand, but I see what that person is saying and what you're communicating here. But you know, it was my first WarioWare game I played, so there's probably a lot of nostalgia with that, which actually leads to my next question. How do you, when you're playing a game, how do you separate your own nostalgia out from your critique? Like, how do you review a game that you loved as a younger person and like not just nostalgia glasses it, you know?
I'm so happy for this question because this is something I've been wanting to talk about, kind of, perhaps maybe in like a future video, because I feel like people have a very, very hard time with trying to see something for what it is as an adult, because
sure.
they're so afraid. I've had people who don't even want to go back and like watch a movie or play a game that they liked as a kid because they're worried that it might change their childhood. I don't know if it was you. Maybe it was you. Hopefully I'm not calling you out here.
It might have been. I don't know. I have hot takes like that every once in a while.
Well, I know at least one other person in my life who has said it besides you, if it was you. And that to me is like truly baffling because honestly, a lot of stuff holds up, and it feels great when it does. Like I don't want to be that guy, you know, but because have you seen Shrek?
Yes.
I watched Shrek as a kid. There's a whole bunch of nostalgia there. I can watch it as an adult, and I go, this is a really well done movie. Like, it doesn't matter that, you know, like it's not just like, oh yeah, I guess it was good at the time. It's still great. I mean, have you watched, like, for example, I know a lot of people enjoy Let's see, like Lion King. Like I hear that holds up pretty darn well. I mean, I was never a huge fan of it in the first place, so for me it's very easy to go, oh, I didn't like it a whole lot. But you know, there are so many things that hold up exactly as well as you'd expect, and you might even be more impressed because you've seen a lot more from that certain time period. Whereas a kid, you didn't have as much exposure, you didn't have as much perspective to what all of like the contemporaries were. Whereas, you know, as an adult, I've seen a lot more movies that came out around the time of Shrek, and if anything, it made me appreciate it more. I've seen a lot of people, not people. I've seen a lot of, you know, like companies try to get a Shrek, you know, like for themselves. They try to make Shrek again, but like like with their own spin on it, and it's just not as good. Shrek is great, and it is able. If you go back and watch it, you're like, oh, this is just as good. I'll say the same thing. I'll say this to my deathbed. SpongeBob, I know you know this is coming. Seasons 1 through 3 hold up extremely well as an adult, and that's because they were written in a very clever way, which can appeal to kids, because kids just want to see SpongeBob and Patrick be goofy, which they are goofy, but it's not extremely pandering to them either. Like they have like jokes in there that aren't like just always like sexually provocative, and as an adult you're like, I get it now, but it's just like it's actually like well written, and you can kind of respect it as an adult almost the same way. Like when I was watching SpongeBob when I was a kid, and I was a kid when it was on, right? I was a kid when it first came on.
Yeah.
I watched it every morning with my stepdad, and he looked forward to it because he loved that show too.
Yeah.
Like he didn't have any fucking nostalgia for it. I'm sorry for swearing if that's
I mean, I think I already dropped the F-bomb, so go for it, dude.
But yeah, I would encourage anybody to kind of like let go of that. Like it's really easy for me to go back to something that I liked as a kid, and because in fact I get kind of excited. I get to go, was this as good as I remembered it? And it happened really recently because I just played Battletoads Double Dragon on the Genesis. That was like one of the first games I ever played, and I gotta tell you, it brought back so much nostalgia for me when I played it. And I also now think it's an amazing game. It's a really good game that I'm super happy that I went back to play. And it's just like as a kid, I wouldn't be able to appreciate it as much as I do now. So
Sure.
I guess that's my answer, or I guess that's my rant. It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, right? Like I thought it was a good. I like the answer. I mean, it's kind of along the way that I am with my thinking as well. But I think where we would differ is I'd be more like, if I would do video game critiques, I wouldn't want to do a game that I knew would be almost nostalgia baiting. Like I wouldn't have the gall to do a Battlefield 2004 or 2005, because I know that as soon as you say something negative about somebody's favorite game that they played when they were like 10 years old, you're gonna get a vitriolic response. So would it be fair to say that that doesn't affect your game choice, I guess? Like you just don't find it
absolutely. Sorry.
No,
but
no,
yeah,
yeah.
I would say it absolutely used to. I remember we were all playing Fall Guys, I think, and I was kind of talking to Phil about how I would absolutely love to do something on like Resident Evil 4, but I wouldn't know what to say because it was a game I loved as a kid so much. I don't know if I'd have anything to actually critique on it. But as I've kind of gone on, I'm able to really like separate that. Wait, what was the question? I forgot.
The question was basically, would you ever not do a game because you'd be afraid of the response if you said something negative about nostalgia?
Okay. This is why I script my videos, by the way, so I can not have that happen. So basically, no. In fact, I would urge anyone who's kind of like afraid of that to just kind of like lean into it. If you know that what your like opinion is valid and you show examples, that's why it's kind of great that I use like the medium of like moving pictures, crazy, right? Because I'm able to have an example of something of why I think it's bad and put it on screen. And there have been times where I haven't had people go like, that never happened to me, like on a whole bunch of like, you know, like I think it was Dead Rising 3. I still get comments like, well, I never had any of those issues and I was running on PC. It's like, congratulations, my dude. I'm super proud of you, but you know, I don't know how to tell you. But no, I don't really ever have the thing of like, I will say anytime I post a video where I have hot takes about a person's like favorite game, I am kind of nervous because I don't want the first few comments to be bad, because I worry these could be the only comments on the video and they think I'm bad.
Yeah.
But it's much easier when I have like a larger audience, because I know I have a few people who are just going to comment what they thought of it in like a positive way, no matter what. Whereas when I first started, like when I first did my first, what was it? Luigi's Mansion video, I was pretty critical of it, and honestly, if I were to do that game again, I probably would do it a little, at least a tad differently. I don't think it was as good as I could have done it, but I complained about a lot of stuff, and I didn't have a huge audience. I got like 100 views because I was able to post it on Reddit, and there were some people who didn't really enjoy my overall conclusions and stuff like that, and I was like, oh, I will admit it kind of sucked, but at the same time, when you get comments on YouTube, YouTube does not care at all what the comment says. It goes, comment, all right, that's engagement, that's good. So overall, if people want to talk crap about me, that's fine. You're just helping me. Thank you. I appreciate the comment, my dude.
I guess on that note, we're about to wrap up here. I'm about to exfil, so long story short is Dorkaxe don't give a damn if you have nostalgia for a game. He's gonna shit on it anyway. So
or praise it.
Or praise it. So do you have any kind of last words? Do you have any videos coming out soon that you'd like to promote or want to say anything to the audience before we wrap up for the day?
I wasn't planning this. Oh, I have like a spotlight here. No, I don't really think I have anything. Obviously, if you are interested, you should come to my channel and see if you like anything. I'm planning to do so I did a huge 12-hour stream recently, playing all the way through Dead Rising. I'm planning to do that again, but for the second game, upcoming soon. So if that sounds at all interesting to you, maybe give the channel a subscription or whatever, or subscribe. Maybe come by.
And what?
That's all I got.
Your channel is just Dorkaxe, or how would the people find you? What's your social medias and all that?
They would probably have to type in Dorkaxe on YouTube, and I'm pretty sure I'll pop up. I'm pretty sure. Hope so. I hope no one else has that name. But yeah, just Dork and then Axe. That's all it is.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for hanging out. I appreciate it.
Yeah, buddy. Anytime.
All right. Well, you have a good rest of your day. This has been the second episode. Thank you so much. So the style of this is now going to be every Sunday. So Sunday at noon. So I'll see you next Sunday. I don't know if we're going to have an interview or anything, but I think it'll just be archaeology news and video games again. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.